Taliban are racing to restore some form of normalcy in the capital, Kabul, asking the government staff to return to work. But on the streets of the Afghan capital, there is panic. In the latest coming in, the Taliban's political chief, Mullah Baradar, is set to arrive in Afghanistan today. This comes as the scenes from the capital are far from normal. Some cautious residents ventured out of their homes to see what life would be like under the Taliban. The men shed their Western clothes for a more traditional garb. Schools and universities remain closed, with hardly any women to be seen on the streets. The Taliban, on the other hand, are projecting an air of restraint and moderation, announcing a general amnesty for the government workers.
اسلامی افغانستان با کمال اطمینان، صداقت و یکسویی عفو عمومی خود را برای تمامی افغانستان به خصوص آن مخالفینی که در این سالها و به خصوص در این اواخر در صف اشغال و اشغالگران قرار داده بودند اعلان نموده است.
Tens of thousands of people are still trying to flee the country. Hundreds were seen walking down to the streets trying to reach the airport. The situation at the airport was so bad that some even had to return.
وضعیت شهر به خدا فعلا خوب است دیگه. گپی نیست یک ذره مردم رژیم آورده طرف این چیز. میگن که ما خارج میریم طرف میدان هوایی اونجا بسیار وضعیت خراب و طرف است مردم طرف خیرخانه رژیم آوردن دیگه گپی فعلا نیست دیگه.
For the women of Afghanistan, it's like the last 20 years never happened. While the Taliban maintain that they don't want the women to become victims, women in the country remain skeptical of their words and promises.
باور است که زنان بزرگترین قربانی بحرانها و معضلها در 40 چند ساله گذشته افغانستان بودند و امارت اسلامی نمیخواهد که پس از این باز هم زنان همچنان قربانی باشند. امارت اسلامی افغانستان در چوکات شریعت اسلامی، در چارچوب شریعت اسلامی و با در نظر داشت ارزش‌های ملی و افغانی به این آماده است که زمینه‌های کار، زمینه‌های تحصیل و زمینه‌های حضور در همه رشته‌های مختلف بشری، در همه عرصه‌های مختلف بشری را فراهم بکند.
A female Afghan newscaster interviews the Taliban spokesperson live on air, what many called a changing picture of the new Afghanistan. But older generations who remember Taliban's first stint in power remain wary. In Herat, the Afghan girls returned to school in hijabs days after the Taliban takeover. The director of the school said that the students are attending classes while adhering to the Islamic hijab as required by the Taliban for women. Now, for more on this, our correspondent Anas Malik now joins us live from Kabul. Anas, thanks so much for joining us. You, of course, have been reporting for us from the heart of the conflict, and currently the world's eyes are on Afghanistan for all the latest development now that the Taliban have seized Kabul. And the latest coming in is that the Taliban political chief is set to arrive in Afghanistan today. What can we expect?
Absolutely, it's day 2 of Taliban takeover. And I'm standing in one of the once busiest markets, which is known as the heart of Kabul, which is called Shahr-e-Naw. The markets that you see behind me, it's largely, by and large, it's closed. Though compared to yesterday, today is relatively or slightly better. If I were to compare it from yesterday, because yesterday we did not even see people on the roads. Today we're seeing some people at least on the roads of Kabul. Women, the presence of women on the roads is increasingly lesser. What we've learned from very credibly from our sources is that Mullah Abdul Ghani brothers, the co-founder of Taliban, is to arrive in a short while in Afghanistan, after which the transition of power process will formally go towards its final settlement. Additionally, just in a while from now, the Taliban spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid is also to address a press conference. If I talk to you about the mood throughout, at least today we saw a positive change. The female newscasters are back on local media, on the local airwaves. Additionally, the Taliban have asked the women to join the government and be part of it, go to universities and be part of it. So by and large, if I talk to you today, the people of Kabul are trying to cope up with this new normal, and the new normal, that being, is to live with the Taliban or under the Taliban.
Right. Now, Anas, of course, you've mentioned the women in Afghanistan are missing on the streets. From the UN to other global powers such as the US, UK and several other countries have mentioned that it is the women that they are worried most about, the women and girls of Afghanistan. What is their future at this point? They're missing on the streets. Are you worried about the future of Afghanistan as of now?
Well, with regards to the future, I haven't really had the opportunity to speak to Taliban representatives on how do they actually envisage the future of women in this very country. However, we've seen statements coming from them, and they are of the opinion that, quote unquote, women will be allowed to work will be allowed to carry whatever responsibilities that they were doing. So that remains an area of concern, that whether or not would this be remain just statements only, or would that transpire into something practical, that is something to be seen. But by and large, as I said, this is not my first time in Kabul. I've seen a lot of progressive women, and women of Kabul are known to be progressive, are known to be hardened, known to have bounced back regardless of whatever the tyranny they faced. But since yesterday and today, collectively, the number of women that I've seen on the roads without their male somebody who's accompanying them with them, a male companion or a mehram, as the Taliban said, is increasingly low, very, very low. So therefore, that would remain an area of concern which the Taliban would want to address, and which we've seen them trying to address through their statements. Priyanka?
Right, Anas, thank you so much for all those on-ground developments and inputs. We'll come back to you for more. Thanks for joining us on WION at this hour. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.